coming up on Network Africa. The Nigerian Railway Corporation confirms 4 persons died in train accident along the Warri-Itakpe rail corridor. Police in Kenya fire tear gas to pick up protest against the construction of an Ebola quarantine center for U.S. citizens in the country. Plus, Pan-Africanist Kemi Seba sees bail decision pushed back as fight for extradition continues. Welcome to the program. I'm Amarachi Ubani. The Nigerian Railway Corporation has confirmed 4 persons lost their lives while 24 others sustained injuries following Monday's train accident along the Warri-Itakpe rail corridor near Agbo in Delta State. Investigations have begun into the cause of the tragedy, and survivors have been recounting the terrifying moments leading up to the derailment. Recovery operations are still ongoing at the scene. Managing Director of the NRC, Mr. Kayode Okpeifa, has visited the scene of the accident, speaking of the next line of action. Staying in Nigeria, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs says the first batch of Nigerian nationals that will be evacuated from the Republic of South Africa due to xenophobic attacks will depart from the Oliver Tambo International Airport in Johannesburg on Wednesday night to arrive on Thursday morning at 5. A statement from the ministry says the evacuation operation, which is fully funded by the Nigerian government, will be undertaken by Air Peace Airlines at no cost to the Nigerians affected. The statement goes on to say that the ministry wishes to assure the public that the federal government, through relevant departments and agencies, has put in place necessary reception and support arrangements for returnees who will undergo documentation and profiling and will receive the appropriate assistance and support before being reunited with their families. In another development, the Nigerian Ministry of Foreign Affairs has disowned a letter allegedly signed by the Minister Bianca Odumegwu-Ojukwu of her receipt of communication concerning remarks reportedly made by Nigerian cleric Primate Elijah Ayodele regarding the President of the Republic of Liberia, Joseph Boakai. The document has been making the rounds online. The ministry denies the document emanated from it. It says the letter contains inconsistencies with standard diplomatic procedures and is designed to mislead the public and cause unnecessary tension between Nigeria and the Republic of Liberia. The ministry has urged the public, the media organizations and stakeholders to disregard the document and stop its circulation while security agencies investigate its origin. Nigeria reaffirms its commitment to transparency and strong diplomatic relations with Liberia, despite the false claims. Let's switch gears now to an update on the Ebola virus outbreak in the DRC. Director General of the World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, says research into vaccines and treatments is critical to containing the Ebola outbreak. During a visit to Kampala, he said that although there is currently no approved vaccine or specific treatment for the Bundibugyo strain, patients are still recovering through supportive medical care. He explained that 3 vaccine candidates and several experimental treatments, including monoclonal antibodies and antiviral drugs, are being prioritized for urgent research and trials, with Uganda expected to play a key role.
One area we discussed to work with Uganda is on research and development. As you know, Bundibugyo Ebola disease can be treated, patients can recover if they get the medical support they need. And that's why, how many recovered from here?
5 so far.
I think five so far recovered. And in the DRC also people are recovering. Although there is no vaccine and treatment, still people are recovering through medical support. But of course, we need to expedite also the research on the candidate vaccines and treatment. So one thing that Uganda asked is to take part in this. And there are 3 vaccine candidates, 2 monoclonals, and 2 antiviral drugs. And I know Uganda has excellent institutions. They will take part in expediting the study, and that's how WHO can support in finding, in helping research on vaccines and treatment.
One of the things that we are here for is to make sure that the incident management support team that my colleague and myself co-chair from WHO as the incident managers to be effective and operational. So thank you, and it's great to be here. Africa CDC stands ready to support the country so that we stop this outbreak as soon as possible.
In other news, police in Kenya have fired tear gas on protesters demonstrating against the establishment of a U.S. quarantine center in Nanyuki town. The protest comes after 2 people were killed last week during similar clashes with police as tensions continue to rise in Laikipia County. Authorities say the proposed 50-bed isolation center is meant to treat Americans exposed to the current Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo, with a site chosen due to its regional access and air transport links. Kenyan President William Ruto has defended the plan, saying it is a humanitarian request from the United States and should not be politicized.
Well, we are here to make sure that we are protesting for the Ebola quarantine, since because it will affect us. Look how we are today here. We all look dead because we don't know what's going to happen next. And we are fighting for our country. And we are very peaceful. And we are very, 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 very peaceful. I have a flag, I have a cross.
We are tired of their nonsense. We want to liberate our country. William Ruto, you have taken our country as a dump site. We are not going to entertain that nonsense. We are telling you that this is the right time. We as the Kenyans, we are going to take this flag and fight for this flag. The flag that was fought during the independence. We are going to defend it and protect it.
And we are saying no to quarantine, no to Ebola. We won't accept Ebola in our place. Hatutakubali. This is our right, this is our land, and we have nowhere else to go.
To a different type of protest in Kenya, still clashes erupted in the capital Nairobi after climate activists protested against plans to construct a parking facility inside Nairobi National Park. Police used tear gas and detained several activists as they moved towards the park to deliver a petition, including former Chief Justice David Maraga. Environmental campaigners say the project threatens biodiversity and urges the government to consider alternative solutions instead of encroaching on protected land. Authorities say the plan involves developing part of the park for infrastructure projects, including a car park and an animal orphanage, sparking widespread public debate.
Are we going to do development at the expense of our environment? As the United Green Movement, we join these other groups to condemn this act and demand that it must be stopped. This is a heritage that we should protect for our children and our grandchildren and the great-great-great-grandchildren of this nation. The leadership of this country must be alive to this, and we demand that this proposed project be stopped immediately.
We are gathered here because Nairobi National Park is once again under threat. This time for the proposed excision of nearly 90 acres to construct a parking facility that will accommodate 1,300 vehicles. We are told that this is necessary for convenience and growth. But I ask, growth for what and at what cost? Nairobi National Park is not an empty space waiting to be developed. It is a living ecosystem. It is the only national park in the whole world that is within a capital city. We are told that this parking space is for tourism and infrastructure support. This is a false choice, that we must choose between protecting a natural ecological system and development. But there are always alternative solutions that do not require taking land from a national park. We could invest in satellite parking. We could invest in public transport systems. We could plan better across routes. What we cannot replace is biodiversity once it's lost. And let us be clear, what is happening here is not an isolated case. It is part of a troubling pattern that we see across our country.
Too many of these projects are being pushed through systems that are in violation of Article 1. And I think today we draw the line with regards to this development. We know that there is a court case coming. We know that there are people who are angry about this project. But the one thing that I think we have to make it clear to KWS and to the Ministry of Environment and to the government as a whole is that this cannot happen without public consent.
Meanwhile, the Kenyan court has upheld the impeachment of former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, barring him from holding public office despite finding that some rights were violated during Senate proceedings. The three-judge bench rejected claims that the process was politically motivated, but said Parliament failed to adjourn when he became ill, awarding him 50 million shillings in damages. Gachagua, a fierce critic of President William Ruto since his falling out with the government, has vowed to appeal the decision. His removal stemmed from allegations including corruption and ethnic divisions, and the court has now affirmed Kithure Kindiki as his replacement in a case with major political implications ahead of future elections. We'll stay with legal matters. Pan-African activist Kemi Seba has appeared in court for a bail hearing as he continues to fight detention and potential extradition from South Africa. Seba was arrested in April for overstaying a tourist visa and is now seeking asylum while Benin pushes for his extradition over allegations linked to an attempted coup. His lawyer says he has not yet received full extradition documents and will respond once they are made available. The court will decide his bail on June 18, with the extradition hearing set for July 14, as he faces charges including incitement to rebellion.
I've got a serious problem with the fact that...
Yes, the extradition is scheduled to continue in July. We are awaiting the documentation, or the state is awaiting the documentation from the state of Benin in support of the extradition, and once the state has those documents, they should share them with us, and we'll be able to take instructions from our clients. But as things stand right now, the extradition request is opposed, and we don't know on what basis the extradition is requested or supported. And when we receive the documentation, we'd be in a position to consult with Mr. Kemi Seba and take further instructions from him, specifically in respect of the allegations from the state of Benin. How it would affect this case is that because he's in custody on the extradition case, which is a separate matter, even if the court had to grant him bail in respect of this matter, he would remain in custody because of the other extradition proceedings, and we would then have to bring another bail application in respect of the extradition proceedings. We received confirmation from the Department of Home Affairs, the Refugee Reception Center, where we received a written confirmation that the application has been received and that it is being escalated to the relevant department. So we still await the outcome from them in terms of their consideration as well as the escalation of the application. Very frustrating for him, the delay and all the legal issues that are currently happening. But he's maintaining his confidence. He has strong confidence in his defense, as well as his defense of the extradition proceedings. But of course, the prolonged nature of the bail application is frustrating for him and for all involved. But under the circumstances, I believe that he's holding up very well.
Still ahead on Network Africa. A Nigerian artist transforms electronic refuse, that's right, electronic refuse, into these striking portraits. You'd want to see this. Stay with us. Welcome back to the World 2 Network Africa. The appeal trial of former Rwandan Dr. Eugene Ramuccio has opened in Paris, where he is challenging a 2024 conviction for complicity in the 1994 genocide against the Tutsis. Ramuccio, who's now 67, was previously sentenced to 27 years in prison for complicity in genocide and crimes against humanity, but he continues to deny all charges. Prosecutors allege he supported the former Hutu-led regime, including inciting violence and helping dispose of victims' bodies during the genocide that killed up to 1 million people. The appeal trial, running until July 17, will be heard under universal jurisdiction and includes hundreds of civil parties representing survivors and victims' families. On Monday was World Oceans Day, and in communities in Zanzibar's Unguja North region, they're showcasing how local action is helping protect coastal ecosystems while creating sustainable livelihoods. In Bumbwini Makoba, Mafunfuni, and Kigongwe Kidogo, a UN Environment Program initiative has linked mangrove conservation with modern beekeeping, training about 70 residents, including women and children. Communities have planted thousands of mangrove seedlings, protecting shorelines, supporting marine life and improving fisheries, while also building new sources of income through honey production. Officials say the project shows that when local people are empowered, conservation and development can work together to build more resilient coastal communities.
For communities to be invested to really be responsive, they need to be able to gain economically. So here in Bumbwini, it's an important area for mangroves. My understanding is the mangroves were degraded and community was sort of harvesting the trees for charcoal and other things. But through this project, they have found an alternative livelihood, which is beekeeping. My understanding is they learned from Kilwa. So part of the effort of the project and the government was to take them to Kilwa, which had a similar problem, similar kind of environment, mangroves. They learned from them, they've come back and they are beginning to produce honey, which then means they're more motivated to not destroy the mangroves. It's truly important. At this particular stage, they're beginning to grow. It's still very small. It's still very fragile. But I hope that the government has been making efforts regarding private sector. But I hope that the government will now put even more efforts to support communities like this to make sure that their honey shows up at the breakfast table of all the hotels in Zanzibar.
Kenya's Cabinet Secretary for Mining, Blue Economy and Maritime Affairs, Ali Hassan Joho, says the country is repositioning its mining sector as a key pillar of economic transformation, with a renewed focus on mineral beneficiation. Speaking exclusively to Channels Television, Joho outlined Kenya's plans to unlock greater value from its mineral resources, create new economic opportunities, and ensure that local communities share in the benefits of the sector's growth.
Even before we talk about community involvement, let me just highlight that Kenya is blessed with serious endowment in different critical minerals of the global demand today, meaning we have good deposits of rare earth, niobium, we have good deposits of copper, coltan, nickel, and manganese, and so on and so forth. And you realize Kenya hasn't taken mining very seriously before, because we continue to be service and agroeconomy. But now we are determined to diversify. And our next frontier in the space, number one, for industrialization, and to participate in the global conversation around energy transition, Kenya has now positioned itself not only for extraction, but also for the entire beneficiation conversation. And our regulations, our legal framework captures very clearly the participation and the involvement of the communities in areas where mining is affected, and the second tier of government. So in Kenya, we have two tiers of government. We have the national government and the devolved units, which is basically a regional government. So those roles are clearly stipulated within our legal framework, and who plays what, who gets what share, who consents to what, and who contributes what role. So we have this meaningful conversation on how our communities participate strongly in the mining sector.
Across the African continent and among communities around the world, millions observed the annual Africa Memorial Day, a day dedicated to remembering the men, women, and movements that shaped Africa's journey through struggle, sacrifice, resilience, and progress. The day serves as a powerful reminder of the continent's rich history and enduring responsibility to preserve its legacy for future generations. Our correspondent reports.
The African Memorial Day 2026 is bringing together participants from diverse backgrounds to commemorate the day, which is a celebration dedicated to preserving the continent's rich cultural legacy and honoring the traditions that continue to shape the African identity. Convener of the event reflects on the sacrifices of those who fought for freedom, justice, peace, and development.
History is a living inheritance with claims on the present. A day when our leaders are measured not against global opinion, but against the standard our own civilizations established. A day when Africa remembers and, in remembering, reclaim.
The keynote speaker, Femi Falana, SAN, emphasizes the importance of preserving historical memory while addressing present-day challenges facing the continent.
It was his submission that Africa was deliberately exploited and underdeveloped by European colonial regimes. The same forces ensured that the independence struggle was manipulated to produce political parties and politicians that will retain the colonial structures.
And then comes a panel session which explores a range of issues and opportunities facing the continent in a rapidly changing world.
Anytime we find people in office that are competent or have a level of integrity that we can hold on to, they make a difference. Dora Akinyuli, for example, lived in this country. A lot of people may have called that government corrupt and called it all sorts of names, but she stood out.
The first thing for me is that the law must rule. It must bound me as a citizen, quote and unquote, because I become a citizen only when the law rules.
Our institution, we have to look into it. There has to be consequence management. There has to be no sacred cows. Everybody should be held accountable. Everybody should be held, accountable for everything that they do. Nobody should be above the law.
Look at what is happening today in Nigeria, other parts of Africa, Cameroon, and the rest. Leadership has not actually responded to the needs of Africans.
The theme for this year is political leadership and governance in Africa. And for many participants and the organizers, the African Memorial Day remains both a tribute to the past and a call to action for the future.
In an Ibadan studio filled with discarded wires and broken electronics, Nigerian artist Patience Adekunle is turning e-waste into striking portraits that highlight both creativity and environmental awareness. There she can be seen with using electrical wires and scrap electronics to build detailed artworks, transforming materials often thrown away into expressive human portraits. Adekunle says her work is inspired by the growing problem of electronic waste in Nigeria and her belief that discarded objects can be given new life through art. She adds that her art aims to raise awareness about recycling and sustainability while showing that even waste can carry beauty, meaning, and renewed purpose. Others are really beautiful. And before we draw the curtains on today's program, here's our fun fact from the continent today. Did you know that Kenya is home to one of the deepest freshwater lakes in Africa? The massive Lake Turkana stretches across Kenya's remote north and is so vast and harsh, it's often called the Jade Sea because of its striking green-blue color. Even more surprising, despite being in a desert region, it supports unique fish species as a tongue twister, and is an important breeding ground for crocodiles, including some of the largest populations of crocodiles in the world. It's a place where life survives against extreme heat, dryness, and isolation, making it one of Kenya's most fascinating natural wonders. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani.